Okay, so for the second week of the oral communication, we have the kinds of communication. And as we have defined the communication as the interaction between groups of people sharing ideas, opinions, and thoughts, it has two kinds, and that is nonverbal and verbal communication. Under the nonverbal, we have the audio signals, a kind of communication that uses our sense of hearing. And the other one is the visual signals, which is a kind of communication that also using that our sense of sight. And the second type of or kinds of communication is the verbal communication, which uses the written and oral communication. So let's first have the nonverbal communication. Now, for the nonverbal communications, we have this slightly explained last week. From the word itself, non-verbal, meaning there is no word or there are no words to use in communication. What do you think are the examples of a non-verbal communication? Anyone? Are there, what are the examples you think would be best for a non-verbal communication? Once again, Aliona.
Siguro po sir, hand gestures po, kagaya ng thumbs up, thumbs down po.
Okay, very good. Hand gestures. It's, yeah, it's a good example. Who else? Galanga.
Sign language po.
Very good. Sign languages. Those are also considered as a non-verbal languages. What else? We also have pictures, sounds, what else? Graphs, drawings, or anything that we can see and we can hear, even though it has no words to explain, but we are able to understand them. Those are what we call non-verbal communication. All right. So let's have a deep study of that on the next slide. All right, so first, we have here the 7 types of nonverbal communication. First, we got the kinesics, or the body language, or the language of the body. So as what Aliona have said a while ago, these are the facial expressions, hand gestures, okay? So your facial expression, your bodily movements, these are the example of kinesics, or the body language. That upon looking at this thing, even though the people whom we are doing this thing is not telling us how are they feeling, what are they feeling, or what are they doing, we already know. And as I mentioned last week, once we understand the message, meaning we are responding to it, and that response is already an interaction to the message, and that is communication. Next up, we also have proxemics, the second type. Proxemics is simply from the word proximity, or simply distance, okay? So it means that the more you are close, yes, the more you are closer to the person, the more you are telling us that you have an intimate relationship to that person. That person might be your special someone, your best friends, your special friends, your relatives, or anyone. As long as you have this like skin to skin, like distance with one another, meaning that person is special to you. But the moment that you set distance from other people, it's also showing the actions that you are not that related too much to those people. Okay, so most especially if you really don't know the person, you are really far from each other, even though you are speaking with one another. Okay, it's very seldom that we have this very short distance with someone that we do not know, only if it's really crowded. But in an open space, the more we don't know the person, the more we set space to them. Okay, that is proxemics, or the language of space. Third one is the haptics, or the language of touch. Any kind of touch has meaning, okay? And the meaning should be agreed between the person who's touching and the person being touched, okay? The touch could be tapping on the shoulder, on the back, on the forehead, uh, on the chin, on the head itself, or anywhere, even holding hands and shaking hands. Those are the most common touches that we all know. And we also know that it has different meaning depending on the situation, right? So of course, we must not be touching someone just because we want it. We might cause harassment. Okay, so better yet, make sure that if you touch someone, it is something that you and the person is agreeing with. Okay, or you are both understanding what's the meaning of that kind of touch. Okay, so that is haptics. Fourth one, chronemics. For the chronemics, or simply the language of time, in some books it says that the way you manage your time is also the way you show yourself as a person. So if you are always late on the agreed time, basically you are known as a lazy person, or a late always kind of person. If you are always early on the agreed time, you will be known as an early bird kind of person, or someone that is diligent or industrious kind of person. Okay, so the way we use our time is also the way other people might know us. Okay, and just like for example, here in the Philippines, we have this very famous Filipino time. And what is that? We have this mindset that it's better to be late than to be absent. So, and that has been the mindset of some of us already. Okay, and that actually the idea of time that we should be fighting and we should not be continuously doing, because it's really bad. So that's chronemics, or the language of time. And the fifth one is the appearance, or simply the way you present yourself to the public, the way you present yourself to yourself as well. Okay, so your the clothes you're wearing, the way you act, everything, everything that shows your physical appearance, it means that you are showing to them who are you and what are you as a person. The language of looks. For example, if someone's wearing fatigue, we might know that that person is either be a member of the military services, or let's say, I think the policeman also has a fatigue style. I don't know, but most people wearing fatigue are the policemen. Next up is the artifacts, or simply the objects around you, the objects that you are wearing to your body to add up on your physical looks. These are also defining yourself as a person, defining your presence as a person. And this is also one of the one of the things that we do judge other people. The clothing, jewelries, perfumes, and other beauty aids. So these are the things that let us know the people and let ourselves be known to other people as well. Artifacts. And the last one of the seven is the paralanguage, or the vocalics. It says here that not only what you say, but how you say it also matters. So it is about our tune of voice, our tone, the volume of our volume, the rate of how we speak, the pitch, vocal fillers, and even the quality mode of tempo, resonance, rhythm, and articulation, enunciation. Those are the things that will determine if we are sincere with what we are saying, if we are joking, or in any other reasons, depending on the situations. Okay, so that is the paralanguage, or the vocalics. So your look, your facial gestures, your bodily movements, your use of time, the way you touch other people or touch things, those are the overall nonverbal communications that I know we are using as well at all times. And to sum up the nonverbal, here, so I have here a figure that would be the summarization of the 7 types of a nonverbal communication. Do you have questions with the first part, class? Do you have questions?
Wala po.
Okay, thank you. So let's move on with our second, with the second type of communication, which is the verbal communication. Okay. For the verbal communication, this is also the same thing that we are doing in line with the nonverbal communication. Because here, from the word itself, verbal, meaning we are using words to express our thoughts, ideas, and feelings, or simply to express ourselves. And what are those things that help us in verbal communication? First, we get the phonology on the left side. Phonology is the study of word sounds. So on the study of the English words, one word comes from different sounds. And where does the sounds come from? Let's say the word dog. It's a D-O-G. So meaning from the word dog, we got 3 letters, and each of these letters has their different sounds. D-O-G. So the sounds of pronouncing the letters is what we call phonology. And also, the sounds of these letters is the one that we are using while enunciating the word. For example, here, on the unvoiced, so these are the words. If we could see from the word itself, there is one letter that is emphasizing to pronounce the whole word. So I got here fat, which has F to emphasize. Calm, the letter C. Pit, sip, tone, chin, thick, and pressure. So there is a specific letter that would guide us to pronounce the whole words. Okay. On the voiced part, we get vat, gum, bit, zip, done, gin, this, and pleasure. If you go into practice speaking these unvoiced and voiced words, you would be able to you would know that there is like a small vibration on your vocal cords. The one that is yung bandang liig natin, meron diyang vibration while you are pronouncing or enunciating these words. You can try it and you will see which word has the vibration. Okay, next up is once we have created the word, and then we also do, as human being, we also do form words, or simply we do not just state what the word is. We use other words and connect them together to create a new word. And putting words together to create a new word is what we call morphology, or the word formation. For example, here, the word rely. The word rely is the base word, and there are 3 words that was connected to it. So from the word rely, we now have unreliability. Okay, again, morphology is the formation of words with one another to form a new word. Okay, that is morphology. So if we form the new word, meaning from the basic word, and we add up another word to that basic word, so we now have a new word. So from the basic word to a new word, so meaning this word doesn't have the same definition anymore because the word changes already. So dealing with the meanings of the words, with the formation of the words, is now what we call the semantics. Semantics, it deals with meanings of the word, okay, or meanings of words. And then putting up the meanings of these words, or putting up the words, these words, based on their meanings, is now what we call syntax. Syntax is putting words together to form a sentence. So forming sentences is what we call syntax, because we have this formation of words depending on their definition. For example, number one, we have I. I has different meaning. Like has different meaning. Chocolate also has different meaning. But we are able to combine them into three. So we now have I like chocolate. So from three different meanings, we now come up with one singular meaning based on the sentence that we have just created or we have just made. So there you go. Now, putting together the sentences or using the words and sentences in our daily conversation, daily communication is now what we call pragmatics, or simply the language that we have is the one determining what words to use and how to formulate sentences with those words. It is our language. So pragmatics is the manner of using the language in all kinds of communication. For example, here I got Jane no longer writes fiction. So upon reading this first sentence that Jane no longer writes fiction, I would presume that before Jane is writing fiction or before was writing fiction, but today she's not anymore doing it, maybe for some other reasons. Okay, about the number two, have you stopped eating meat? So we would presume that before you are eating meat, and maybe today you're not anymore because you're already a vegetarian. Is it for example? And the next up is have you talked to Hans? Or have you talked to Hans? So because presuppose that Hans really exists and you were able to speak to him before. Okay, so these are the examples of pragmatics, or simply it is how we use our language in any form of communication. So those are the types and the kinds of communication. So those sums up our verbal and non-verbal communication.